Yeah, the Sunday edition of the pod. What up, B?
What's going on, Sneed? How you doing, man?
Happy Sunday, brother.
Same to you, sir. Same to you.
Ah, man. Special request, the Sunday edition of the pod. On another tough day for the Cleveland Browns, man.
Yeah, I understand, man.
What appears to be an Achilles injury probably ends his season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Injuries,
I know the Niners, same thing, right? Injuries.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's one of the biggest reasons why it's bittersweet when players get paid. You never know what they're going to do that next year, especially when they hold out. You just never know. It's a crapshoot. So, yeah, I understand why owners are reluctant to pay guys. I really do. It doesn't work out
It's
way
always
too
a
often.
gamble. It's a
Yep.
gamble for the players, right? They're always bent on themselves, and it's a gamble for the owners because they got to cut the checks.
Yep. And then as
And
soon
if
as
they
they got
don't
the
pay a
check,
guy, that they go somewhere else and get paid.
yep. And as soon as they got the check, there's no guarantee that the productivity is going to stay where it was or
Right.
go down. I mean, it's a crapshoot, man. You just never know.
Yeah, well, all I know is the SMT Nation didn't come to hear us complain about our teams not winning today, man.
Well, that's what they got for about 37 seconds.
All right, B. Oh man, what do we got going on today? So I wanna treat today as an earnings season preview. It's earnings week. It really, dude, if you don't keep track of stuff, it creeps up fast, right? If you're not paying attention to the weeks, it's like, holy cow, we just did Q2 earnings, right? Now Q3 earnings are upon us. It's the usual suspects. Verizon first, which I believe will be Tuesday, the 22nd. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure. But I think it's them first. They'll report in the morning. They'll have their conference call. And then AT&T will be the following morning. And T-Mobile will be that afternoon. So in years past and in quarters past, it's always been this long drawn out week of podcasts and videos from me. Today it's going to be like a tornado, or this week it's going to be like a tornado. Verizon, we'll go to sleep. We'll wake up. It'll be AT&T. We'll get off of work. It'll be T-Mobile. So that whole 24-hour time frame. Right, so, that's what it's going to be this week. And I think just as important are the earnings themselves, the commentary is always important too. B, don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Because you kind of need clarity and transparency and some direction on where things are going for the next quarter to close out the year and then moving forward into the next year. And you're going to start hearing some of that talk, right? Q3 talk, they give a little bit of insight into next year, right? We'll get more of that at the end of Q4, obviously, which will be January 3rd week or something. So, but yeah, we'll deal with that when we get there. Shout out to Troy. Salute to you, man. Shout out to Micah and Speed Test Channel. Good to have you guys there in the live chat. Let's start with Verizon, like the earnings preview. Okay. I just made a poll and I'm going to do another poll tonight. I'm going to have 3 polls total, actually. So I put up the Verizon poll. You guys can go and vote on it. It's in the community tab. From an objective perspective, all feelings aside, how do you think Verizon did Q3 2024? It gives everybody about a full day to try to cast some votes in there and see how it is. So did they have a good quarter? I just asked the simple question, and then I gave you the options, yes or no, right? And I hope folks are objective. They don't look at it like, oh, I hate that company or, oh, I love that company, so let me just vote yes or no based on that. No, I want you to think about the plans that they offer, the promotion that they've been putting forward, the moves that they've been making, right? Promotional activity, devices, sale, my plan, like everything that they do, home internet, the business side, the consumer side, all of that collectively is how I want people to look at it, right? Will it be good or will it be bad, right? And I don't want to give people too many options because then stuff starts getting messy. I want to keep it simple because there is a way to look at this and say, generally speaking, it will be a good quarter. Generally speaking, it could be a bad quarter. So, anyways, here's how I want to look at Verizon's Q3 2024. I'm going to look at Verizon from a few different business angles. So for me, I want to see the, I guess, the fruits of the labor. Remember, they did some price increases, some legacy plan stuff, some auto pay discount stuff. Some of that may only show up, I think, in Q4 possibly. So we'll see if any of that manifests itself in revenues and free cash flows. I want to see if my plan uptake is continuing to increase, right? I want to see the growth. I want to see the home internet, fixed wireless access, and it could be business and we'll just call it broadband, right? Mobile broadband or whatever, fixed wireless access. We'll see if they're still kind of hanging around that 300,000 net ads, that sort of thing. So I want to see that. Consumer, postpaid accounts, consumer postpaid lines, right? We want to see some positivity there. Business, I expect it to be strong. It's really just something that has become the fabric of Verizon's identity is the business company. So I expect that to be strong. Overall, I want to see the ending of the negative of prepaid. I want to see the total by Verizon, total wireless showing some positivity on losses coming to an end and ads being the way moving forward, being that path. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And then with respect to my predictions and where I think these things are going to go, I think Verizon is going to have, and these are just my predictions. This is speculation and pontification. I don't have any internal information. I'm just looking at promotional activity and feedback I'm getting from the community, advertising that I'm seeing on TV and other platforms to show that Verizon's been active. So in postpaid phone net ads, I think Verizon's obviously going to be positive. They have, a partial iPhone launch in there, and they've been pretty active. They haven't really been on the sidelines for much of the quarter. So I think they're going to be positive. I think they're going to be plus 80,000. And then with respect to business, I think that will also continue to be a strength. I think they're going to be plus 125,000. So I think there's a version of this where Verizon adds phone net ads of 200,000, right? Combining those two things. That's how I think it's going to break down. With respect to fixed wireless access, I think Verizon will come in strong. I'm not sure about the business versus consumer breakdown, but I think they'll add 300,000 collectively. I think the upside is like 350,000, but I think it's going to be closer to 300,000 personally. And I think the breakdown is going to be like 170 to 130 towards the consumer. That's just, I'm just thinking about it from the C-band build standpoint. The pops continue to increase. Their fixed wireless access, their home broadband is connected to the 5G ultra-wideband build. The C-band scaling, they're probably around 270 million pops covered now, right? So if they're not at 270, they're going to be very close. So I think that allows them to further increase the reach of that service. So I think that's kind of how that's going to break down. There's a version of it where they're at 350,000, right? Where it's like, 180,000 consumer and 100,000 business, maybe, like that could happen. They could be 350 or 380. We've seen Verizon eclipse 400,000, I think, or be at like 380,000. So we'll see. Yeah, that's kind of where I think they're going to be. And then the prepaid, I think the upside is plus 10,000 on prepaid, but I think the downside could be like minus 50,000. But I don't think we're gonna see the track phone hemorrhaging that we saw in the past. I think that's done. There's just too much advertising. There's too much marketing. There's too much focus. The revamp of the plan, there's a clear direction of where they want to go, and they're investing into that segment. And it appears that they have some stability going into that brand. Stores, commercials, it seems like it's going in the right direction. So I would be shocked if they had a bad quarter in prepaid. I think by most objective measures, it should be an improvement over the recent quarters. Okay, so I gave you guys my take, my predictions. Overall, it seems to me like they're positioned to have a good quarter. Will it be a blowout quarter? I don't think so. I don't think they've done anything outrageous to say it's going to be a blowout quarter, but I think that things have been pretty stable. Things have been pretty consistent. There's stability at the company within their leadership and their direction moving, through all their different segments. I could see it being a good quarter in most metrics. I think I gave you my numbers, and if those numbers are lower than what I predicted, I would say you could argue that they could be a disappointment, but I think objectively speaking, there's going to be some good numbers from Verizon. B, go ahead.
Yeah, great job, Sneed. Good analysis. I don't have a whole lot to add. I guess I'll give my numbers.
Oh, churn rate, B. I forgot churn rate. Can I throw in my
No,
churn
go
rate
ahead.
numbers real quick?
Absolutely. Go ahead, man. Absolutely. Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think their total churn will be about 1.05. That will include business, consumer, and all of that. I think the postpaid phone churn, I think, is going to be around 0.85, maybe 0.84, 0.83. So give me 0.83 to 0.85. I think they're going to be around there. Prepaid churn, I think you're going to see a sizable drop. I think that stuff is stabilizing. Go ahead.
All right. So I guess I'll start with churn. I'm going to go 0.81. I think there's going to be some improvement there. Still elevated from from the norms with Verizon. They're usually in the 0.7s, but still not anything to be alarmed about, in my opinion. Home broadband, I think they get around 390 to 400,000, including their Fios product. As far as the breakdown is concerned, of course, the majority of that is probably going to be fixed wireless.
Can I ask you about Fios real quick, B?
Sure.
I forgot to mention what I would project for Fios. I think they're going to come in at 50,000, but do you think that they could do more than 50,000?
I think that's a good upside, in my opinion, especially for a third quarter. I would love to see them do more. I mean, they're definitely building, so I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do more. But maybe there's some things I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think 50,000 will be a great quarter for the Fios product. As far as how I'm going to be grading, the quarter, I'm going to be grading it exactly how Hans kind of already told us. So financials, wireless service revenue, free cash flow, and EBITDA. I'm going to be looking for those to be positive numbers. From a shareholder type of standpoint, EPS, I think they beat EPS. Total revenue, I think they get right there. Maybe they eclipse it just slightly. But I mean, overall, I think we'll have a solid quarter. Phone ads and stuff like that. I think Sneed, your numbers were probably right on par with where mine are. So I'll repeat that. But overall, I think we'll see a solid quarter from Verizon. I don't think that we're going to see anything super crazy or super outside of the norm. It's going to be business as usual for VZ. I think you'll see some improved growth numbers, which I think that'll be a welcome sight for those who choose to invest in that company. I really see no reason to not be optimistic about where they're going from a prepaid standpoint. If they don't get positive this quarter, I think they'll definitely be positive in the fourth quarter. There's definitely good momentum there. They have everything that they need to compete. They got a growing number of stores. They got competitively priced plans. They have good promotions. They have very, very good advertising that's aggressive right now. They got everything that they need. So I don't see why, if they didn't go positive this quarter, that wouldn't happen in the fourth. So very, very good to see there. I expect to see or hear more information and dialogue about the Frontier purchase and where things stand as far as that's concerned, as far as how that's going to benefit the overall business. I expect to hear more about the purchase of Spectrum from US Cellular. I'm sure they'll talk more about that. and how that's going to benefit the business, and where that's going to fit into the overall growth model for the company as well. So a lot of good things happening at Verizon. They definitely don't seem to be resting on their laurels right now. They seem to be hitting on all cylinders from an aggression standpoint, trying to do the best that they can to increase the value proposition of the company, and also improve on performance metrics and stuff too. So it's good. It's good to see. We'll see what happens.
Franconius, what you got for me, sir?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for having me on the show. I think that everything's going to be pretty stable. I'm kind of in line with what both you and B were saying. Being in the store every day, I can slowly and steadily see, especially, I don't know what's going on at Big Blue Sneed about what you said in your video earlier, but there's definitely something going on because a lot of the churn isn't coming from the pink guys, it's coming from the blue guys. So I think that churn is going to be like around .81, .82, maybe around 375 to 380K in the home broadband for the 5G home internet, because that's expanding like crazy, at least in my area in Southwest Michigan. And it's expanding in areas where only Frontier or Comcast or monopolies. So giving people that choice and being able to bundle it, now they're even giving the home internet discount if you're on the cheapest entry level plan, and they're dropping it to $45 a month when you have auto pay turned on. So I don't foresee any big changes in the negative. As B was saying, if the numbers don't get better this quarter, definitely in the fourth quarter or the first quarter of 25, I don't see why they wouldn't get better. I mean, just being in my store for the first couple of months, we're literally 3 months in right now. We just hit our 90th day on the 5th of this month, and the store's already pulled 70K in revenue from just customers adding lines and customers coming over from AT&T and T-Mobile. So, and that's just in a small, 20,000 person town. So growth is definitely there, competitively priced plans, really aggressive promotions, and to their credit, since they, brought on Sampath and the new advertising regime, there's been a lot of advertisement on TV for Verizon. Every other commercial, whether that be on Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, on TV itself, is every other commercial is not a T-Mobile commercial anymore. It's a Verizon commercial. So, advertising's there, and growth is definitely going to continue to steadily get better for the guys on the red side of the squad, and Big Red's going to continue to grow and to the last quarter of this year and definitely in the first quarter of 25.
It's an interesting input there and some insights. I have kind of been following the situation. We've seen instability in the AT&T network. I'm guessing some of that is to the advantage of a company like Verizon specifically, because they're regarded as having a large, reliable network. So if a customer who's at AT&T wants a similar experience, they're probably going to Verizon, right? Just based on reputation, pedigree, and that expectation. For the folks that are going to Verizon from AT&T, as long as Verizon is giving, actively providing good promotions, the customer will be happy, right? They're going to get a free iPhone or whatever with a trade-in, and those offers have been there. And you're right, I have seen the advertisements from Verizon. They've been very active. I have been seeing a lot of T-Mobile too. The only company I don't see advertising much is AT&T, and I'm in a market, so when I watch media, right, I'm consuming content. This is an AT&T ILEC region. They have fiber and good wireless service here, and I don't see their advertising. I do see kids going around on scooters and stuff trying to sell home broadband within my region, but it's interesting to see that I'm seeing more Verizon advertising and more T-Mobile advertising, but I'm not seeing AT&T. So that could be to the advantage of Verizon, as you kind of brought that up. Anything else with respect to Verizon? Kind of what B had said about some more insights onto what's going on with US Cellular and the Spectrum acquisition. That'll be something we'll look at. And then I think also the Frontier. It looks like there's a little bit of shareholder reservations, if we will. Some don't seem too happy about the the financial structure of the deal. So we'll see if they provide any insight on it. I think what's going to end up happening is they'll just tell us, there is this thing, and they're going to try to work through it with those shareholders, and they'll wait for their vote and all that stuff. So I just don't know how much they'll give us. Big shout out to Prasanna Sai, newest member here on the YouTube channel. Salute to you, and thanks for supporting us. Welcome to the community. And then Speed Test Channel chimed in. Verizon construction manager is telling us that 12 of the 14 central offices in this region start Fios builds this year. So that's exciting. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of action going on. There's a lot of building. I think B's been pretty adamant about, Verizon not resting on their laurels. I think that's an accurate way of describing it. It appears that they are very active in building their wireless network bigger and better. And we're seeing more activity within fiber investments and fiber building. I think it's pretty clear. All right. You guys ready for the next piece? Oh, did you want to add something else?
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good. It's your show, man. Go ahead.
All right. Let's jump over to the Big Blue Death Star. And they report 24 hours after Verizon. All right. So they're set to release their third quarter earnings on Wednesday. So Verizon Tuesday morning, AT&T Wednesday morning, and then we'll get the last one to drop from T-Mobile that afternoon on Wednesday. All right. So here's AT&T's situation. Chris Sambar just left AT&T, and he's going to be the chief operating officer at like the country's biggest storage unit company. It seemed it was very abrupt that he left. Could be a very just kind of executive type move. He may have felt like he had reached the pinnacle at AT&T and his escalator had stopped. Maybe the upper tier, C-suite guys. So that would be like Stanky, McElfresh, and those guys. Maybe they're going to be hanging around for a while. And, Sambar is like, I'm not going to stick around for another 5 years waiting for you guys to retire. So he took that position. It was offered to him. I think it's something along those lines. But he's gone, and apparently there is no imminent replacement. So I think that's a question worth asking to AT&T at this earnings conference. I would ask it. I would say, what's the business? Why was this so concealed? Why were there no disclosures? Why did he abruptly leave? And whether or not I get answers, that would be remain to be seen. But I would want to know, right? But with respect to the network, there's been several outages. There's been, some network instability, I suppose. That maybe that leads to some churn. I know Frank was talking about that earlier, and how he's seen it within kind of the retail space. I still, to this day, think that AT&T's churn will still be industry leading. It has defied logic. It has defied the laws of gravity. When it comes to network instability, you would think that would create churn. But what has kept AT&T's churn rates low have been their active promotions of free iPhones, giving all customers, new and existing, the same great savings on their iPhones, right? So giving folks, up to $1,000 or more in trade-in values and stackable discounts. They're very good when it comes to those things. To their credit, Verizon has also been really good about running their broken phone promo. I think that's one of the more unique promotions in the industry, and I think that's why Verizon garners some attention from customers, right? So, that's kind of where I am with AT&T. I still think they're going to have the industry best churn. I don't think it's going to be as low as it was in the past, though, right? So I'm gonna say they're going to come in like around a .79, right? I think the churn gap between AT&T and Verizon is closing a little bit. We're seeing a bit of a swing. So I think Verizon low 8s. I think, AT&T high 7s, so like 7.8, 7.9 kind of deal. I think they'll have about, let's go 400,000 postpaid phone net ads. I think they'll have 400,000. You have about a month or so of sales of the new iPhone. AT&T historically does very good with those. With respect to prepaid, I still think that they'll have that industry low churn with Cricket seems to be doing very well. I don't think anything's happened to disrupt that. So I think that churn rate will be industry leading or very close, like 2.6 or something like that. With respect to their AT&T Internet Air, I think that will also be an upside surprise. I think 160,000 net adds, and I think to the upside maybe 180,000, which some people will say, "Wow, that's surprisingly high." But honestly, guys, these are the types of numbers we expect to see once people know that a service exists, and AT&T has to find ways to give service to customers who are transitioning from DSL. So as they scale their 5G plus upgrades, as they scale the C-band and DoD build, so does their internet air, right, and their reach. So that's kind of my prediction for that. They don't break down their business internet air numbers unless they surprise us with that. I don't know what to do relative to a prediction. With respect to
Corny.
fiber, what's that?
I said corny.
Yeah. And they don't break down business ads either. They just do like total phone and all that. So it's hard to break that down. Um, with respect to the fiber side of the business, I think it's going to be pretty strong. I think they're going to come in with 250,000 net ads. So they're going to have probably some more DSL losses as they kind of shut down that service. I think most of that will be offset with the internet air, right? So if they lose 200,000, most of the internet air ads will kind of compensate for it. Plus the fiber additions, I think they'll come in at about a quarter mil, right? So like 250,000, 260,000. They'll keep their 20, I think it's either 29 or it's going to be 30 consecutive quarters of 200 or 200,000 or more net ads on fiber. So I think that streak stays alive. It's a winning, service for them, and they've really dumped a lot of their resources and energy into it, and it's paid out big dividends for them. I expect the ARPU to continue to increase on the fiber side. We've seen price increases. We've seen auto pay discounts decrease. So I would expect it to go from possibly $67 or $68 closer to 70 or 71. Right. So that's going to be an upside. And I think the investors will be happy about that.
Sneed, I just want to get some further insight from you on that. I was not aware that they had an auto pay discount that they adjusted at some point. Was that recent?
I believe it was a couple of months ago. And the way that they framed it was you have to get off a credit. You only get a $5 discount if you use a credit card. You'll get a $10 discount if you use a checking or debit card.
So very similar to what Verizon did.
Identical to what Verizon did.
But AT&T did it first?
I'm not sure who did it first, but it's possible they did.
Interesting.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it seems like the companies have been moving in this direction, trying to find ways to squeeze, the additional dollars out of these like micro elements of their business, right? Because it's incremental stuff. It's not huge, but it's a difference maker to ARPU, so that because they want to show that to the investor. The investor is like very much in tune with these small things that add up over time because they're going to be invested in these companies for years. So if they can see that there's trust that AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile can add revenues to the user or to the account, they have faith that their money's parked in the right place. So yeah, I think some of that's going to show. I think some of that's going to manifest itself. I think AT&T is going to have the industry's second best free cash flow, second best revenues to Verizon. I think Verizon will still be post a little bit higher, but I do think the investor is going to respond very positively to this AT&T quarter. I think, and I'm this is just me predicting. I don't give financial advice, but there's a version of the Verizon quarterly earnings where Verizon gets a nice little boost, a nice little pop, maybe a 2%, the increase to the upside in the morning. I think AT&T's could be like a +4. For whatever reason, their stock is beat up a little bit more. So I think the upside for that pop is a little bit higher.
There you go, Sneed. I agree. You hit it right on the head. There's nowhere to go but up. They're trading at $20. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they pop a little bit more than Verizon and even T-Mobile does. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think Ian brings up a good point about the convergence piece or the fixed wireless access. So Stanky really does try to downplay fixed wireless access. And, we have definitely called him out for it. because it's his answer to losing customers on DSL. I mean, can you think of a more important element to your business than losing customers? That kind of defeats the purpose of the business. So if your internet air is your copper catch, you better catch as many people as you can. And I think that's starting to pay out for them. They're actually executing it to a decent level. If they were able to build the 5G plus better, faster, I think they'd be doing a better job of it. But we'll see. We'll see the numbers. Um, B, you can jump in on the AT&T piece.
Um, I just want to focus on churn. I think they will lead the industry in churn once again due to their promotions. But like you said, to your point, I think that there's um a convergence of the number. So I think their churn is going to tick up a little bit, probably to around 0.79, like you were saying. I think Verizon comes in at 0.81, so things are getting tighter there. Which is, I guess, a good thing for Verizon and something to watch for AT&T. But that's where I think we'll see the industry kind of fall for those two companies. Um, Revenue is revenue. We know AT&T is going to get their normal 30 billion. That's where they always are. From a top line revenue standpoint, um, they'll do well in fiber. They'll do well in fixed wireless. Still have the least amount of growth of all three companies in fixed wireless, but better than they've ever done. So that's good for them. Um, I mean, it's the same old AT&T that it's always been. I mean, they don't really advertise. They don't really do anything. They just kind of give you free phones and that works. So not a whole lot of flash or anything like that for that company right now. They just kind of trading along, giving away phones and stuff. So
All right, cool. Frank, jump in.
I think they'll lead the.
Oh, Frank, we need to, we're gonna boot you out of here, but come back in, okay? All right, because we got a little mic issue with him. We'll see if we can get Frank back in. Do you think, B, that there's any potential upside for AT&T of something we're not considering? Like, they've been pretty quiet. I haven't really heard anything internally or any rumblings of any surprises, but do you think they could surprise us with something? Or possibly even Verizon, because we just spoke about them earlier. Are there any surprises for the rest of the year? Or do you think it's gonna just kind of be the holiday season and that's it?
no, I don't think there's too much that's going to surprise from either of the three carriers. Excuse me. Everybody's going to kind of continue executing along their current trajectory. I mean, that's just kind of where we are now. I think all three companies are shifting to profitability and revenue accretion, and they have to because the investor says they have to, and so does. I mean, honestly, I'm sure their CFOs say they have to as well. All of them spent elevated levels of capex in order to get the 5G product built. You have Verizon that's also expanding fiber. You have AT&T that's also expanding fiber. You have Verizon that's made purchases in order to increase their asset portfolio in both fiber and also spectrum. And that has to return a profit. That has to, there has to be a return. So I don't think that we'll see, this is the last time we'll see some small price increases. I think that may, be coming down the pike as well. So, we'll see what happens there. But everybody is in the industry looking towards how to grow revenues and financials and begin to get a higher level of return on that 5G investment. And I don't think that's going to stop either. And to be honest, it should. When you look at the difference in performance from LTE to 5G, particularly mid band and the higher band spectrum allocations, um, it's night and day. And we're talking about well over double the speeds. I mean, well over double. So those things, when you improve your performance to that level, and we're talking about hundreds of percent increases in performance, it's worth charging a little bit more, in my opinion. So that's where the industry is going to be looking towards. But one of the things that I am happy and encouraged about is the phone deals are probably the best that they've been in several years as well. So it's not like the customer isn't getting the incentive to continue to do business, to continue to stay with whatever carrier that is that they choose, and to get some pretty reasonable promotions um, for that loyalty as well. A lot of good promos going on right now, and I know a lot of good stuff going on as far as content. It's concerned with Verizon, and T-Mobile's also got always got some sort of rabbit that they're pulling out of their ear. And AT&T, they're not going to stop giving away phones either. So there is, good upside for the consumer as well. So I think everybody should be, pretty happy with what it is that's going on right now. Probably the best time in the industry for the consumer.
All right, B. Excellent. Let's actually thank Prasanna again for the membership and also supporting us on Patreon. So big salute to you, Prasanna, and we're glad to have you, and thanks for supporting us. Also, welcome to the live chat to Josh and also Dusty. You guys are the best. Thanks for being here. Big salute to you guys. And then let's get to Speed Test Channel. He had a couple of comments here. Pretty solid. So some insights in his area. He said AT&T has been pushing Internet Air home fixed wireless access in stores almost immediately after going live with N77 in an area. That makes total sense, right? You can't sell capacity you don't have. So once they get the upgrades done, you get people on the service. So it makes total sense.
What a bunch of hypocrites.
I know. I know. The big stank was sell wolf tickets, bro. Come on,
what
man.
a bunch of hypocrites, man. I tell you.
What call those wolf tickets be?
I'd call it something. I call it hypocrisy. I call it outright lying to the American people. I mean, imagine that. I mean, that's just crazy.
What, to his credit, he did say he loves it for business. He does not love it for consumer. It seems like painstakingly he's willing to sell it to the consumer.
Lipstick on a pig. He lied.
What is he working with T-Mobile now?
No. Come on, Frank. We can't do this. I'm going to boot you out. Come back in. All right. Speed Test Channel said early this summer was the timing on the auto pay thing. Verizon followed a few months later. Okay, so that kind of straightens that out.
I wonder why people got so upset when Verizon did it. I mean, AT&T did it first, and nobody batted it out.
No. There was a lot of pushback on AT&T.
Yeah, we'll see what that churn number looks like. I know we both said that it will be elevated, so we'll see. We'll see what the impact is, if any at all.
All right, Frank. Let me get a sound check, sir.
Sound check. We good?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I guess I was the Max Tech Studios of the show tonight. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
So yeah, I think that AT&T's churn rate's going to stay pretty steady, even with their network issues they've been having and the churn that I've been seeing personally in my store. They do have a really reliable network just about everywhere that Verizon does, and they also have very industry-leading competitive type promotions, especially during iPhone season and then during Samsung season as well. So I think maybe a .80 might be the highest their churn would go. Maybe 390,000 net adds in the consumer side for cell phone net adds. Maybe around 225,000 net adds for the fixed wireless access, because as the comments in the chat have been saying tonight, they are expanding N77 in a lot of rural areas where historically very, very crappy DSL providers are the only option for people. So I think that their churn rate's going to continue to be pretty steady despite all the issues they've been having and their upper leadership jumping ship to other companies and other endeavors. It's going to be really interesting to see what T-Mobile ends up looking like, because I can tell you right now that officially all my 5 lines are on Big Red now, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. I was with T-Mobile for over 10 years, so I'm sure that there's a lot of customers out there that have been jumping ship as well. So we'll see what T-Mobile ends up looking like on Thursday when they report their earnings. But for AT&T, I think they're going to stay pretty in line, .78, .79, maybe .80. Like I said, around 375K for net adds and cell phones, and around 250 to 275 in the fixed wireless access net adds, because DSL is shutting down in a lot of areas, at least in Michigan. I don't know about Ohio and other areas where they have fiber, but I'm sure where they're lighting up N77, DSL is going to slowly become a thing of the past.
Solid. Maximus, what's going on, sir?
How you doing, Sneed?
Excellent. Thanks for being here and hanging out with us, man.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I summoned Max.
Yeah. He heard your audio issues. He's like, I got you, bro.
Hey.
All right.
Hold on. I got a source. something big from AT&T is happening within the next month.
What?
But I don't think I can say much more, but trust
All
me.
right, well, we're gonna talk after the show then. You can't do that to me, dog. All right. Let's transition over to T-Mobile. They're the last of the big three to report. So Verizon Tuesday morning, AT&T Wednesday morning, and then T-Mobile Wednesday afternoon. So just like with the other guys, they drop the earnings, it shows up on the investor page, and then they do their call. So there'll be a conference and everything. All right, so for T-Mobile's Q3 2024, I think we start by kind of acknowledging T-Mobile still wants to remain a grower, right? They want to continue to add, the industry's highest number of postpaid phone net adds. So I don't really expect that to change. They're still giving away, a free line every third line or fourth line. I forget the structure of it. So I think that kind of comes into play. They've been selling some 5G connectivity hardware solutions. So I think that might be something that impacts those numbers maybe in Q4 if they start to sell those things. But I could definitely see, 650,000 postpaid phone net adds for T-Mobile. I think that's very possible. With respect to, the churn rate for them, I think it's going to be in line with what they typically have for Q3s. So I think it's going to be mid-8s. I think there's a version of the quarter that turns out really nice for them and maybe gets them into the low 8s.
Of course, it'll be industry leading, regardless of what they say.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, we could objectively look at the numbers. So,
well, I mean,
quarter with them.
According to them, they can report a .99. It'll still say industry leading, best ever. Like, all right, here we go.
I don't know.
They only compare it to themselves.
You're right. Yeah. So,
man, you know what? They every quarter they toot their horn about having the best quarter ever, and then they have the balls to send a letter to the FCC saying this 60-day unlock policy will make us not be able to subsidize the phones anymore.
Oh, Max, send me that link so I could pull it up here for the folks in the chat. Yeah. And we'll cover it at the end after we go over our projections. So for T-Mobile's churn, I think mid-8s to low 8s. I think a .82 would be like best case scenario. Anything lower than that would really surprise me. And then in terms of their high side, I don't think they'd go much higher than .86. I think .87 would be a disappointment because, like B hasn't, alluded to in the past, things are really stabilizing within, the big three's competitive juices, right? So like customers are kind of sticking with what they have. They shop a little bit maybe for a phone deal every few years, but churn rates are pretty stable. And I think moving forward, they'll just continue to drop between all the three companies. With respect to their home broadband, I think 400,000 is definitely a thing. They went a little bit active recently and promotional, bringing the price down, offering it to some folks with certain plans for $30. To me, I think that indicates that some of the steam may have been fading towards the end of the quarter, but I think with that promotional activity, it does help. So I think they probably get to that 400,000. I think it's very realistic. They don't give us the business consumer breakdown on that, so we'll just give it that total number. Prepaid, they've been very stable. Their churn rate's been pretty low, so it's either them or Cricket. Right, that'll be the industry leader, and I think I want to lean Metro. I think Metro is going to be just slightly lower than Cricket. I think they're going to come in at like 2.5 or something, 2.55, and I think Cricket's going to be like 2.6. Something along those lines. I think Verizon. I think when it comes to the fixed wireless, it'll be T-Mobile first with 400,000, Verizon right behind them at like 350, 380,000, and then AT&T will be around 180,000. Right, so that's kind of how I think they'll rank. We're probably going to get some fiber information, right? They'll maybe give us an update on some of the FCC stuff, kind of getting the submissions for approval for the transactions with MetroNet and some of those fiber deals they have. I think investors will be curious to see what the plans are to expand fiber footprints within those areas. So we might get some disclosures on that, penetration rate updates, stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see what else comes, but they're gonna, like B said, they're gonna really push the narrative that they're having, these blowout quarters. I think the stock will be stable. I don't think it'll have the same pop that the other two have. But T-Mobile, I think, is fully valued. Let's put it that way. At over $200, they are definitely fully valued. I don't know, B, you probably disagree. I don't know if you want to comment to that.
It's the most overvalued company in the S&P 500. There's no way that company should be, valued over NVIDIA. What are we talking about right now?
And the only company that's undervalued is Verizon.
Say that again one more time.
And the only company that's undervalued is Verizon.
I don't know if that's true. I think AT&T is undervalued as well. But T-Mobile definitely shouldn't be $200 a share. What are we talking about? Come on now.
I mean, that's another thing we could kind of do our predictions for. I think T-Mobile is going to have record-setting churn, or record-setting revenue, service revenues, and then record-setting free cash flows. And actually, I think quarter 4 is going to be even bigger.
Well, you're probably right. There's nowhere to go but up. They've never made any money before, so everything is record-setting right now.
Yeah, but it's been consecutive quarters, B. We have to acknowledge this.
I mean, I agree, and you're right. But like I said, there's nowhere to go but up. They've never made any money before. So everything is a record until next year. Then they'll have to try to beat it next year.
Yeah. I have another story of chicanery for T-Mobile whenever you're ready for that, Sneed. So just let me know.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
So I was in contact with a former coworker when I was there, and she actually came and opened an account with me at Verizon this past week, and she told me that, she had the home internet and she had used another address to activate it. Not only did they deactivate her internet, right? They deactivated her whole account because they found out that she was using the internet somewhere where she wasn't technically registered for it.
The T-Mobile you're talking?
Correct. Not only did they deactivate her home Wi-Fi box, they deactivated her entire T-Mobile account, and she had to get new numbers for everyone on her account with Verizon because they did not allow her to port her numbers over because they deactivated her service completely.
That's wild.
And if they're doing that to a 7-line account with 2 home internets, imagine if they wouldn't do it to accounts to have less revenue. So their churn is going to be different just because of the way they're shutting people down because of what reps were told to do in stores to oversell the internet whenever they were first expanding it out.
Mm. All right, let's jump in here, B. You want to do some projections for the T-Mobile earnings?
No.
Frank, do you want to do some projections?
They're going to be industry leading in everything according to Sweaty Armpits, but I think that their churn is going to be like 0.88, 0.89. It's going to be the highest it has been in a couple quarters. They're going to have less growth in the home internet just because they're deactivating people's accounts and they're not allowing reps to deactivate it to any address just to get it out the door. So maybe around 290, 300,000 net adds in the home internet fixed wireless access piece, around 700,000 net adds in the wireless phone line net adds. And I think that their churn is going to be like 0.89 or 0.90. So it's definitely going to be higher. Because like I said, just before I left the company, they were losing customers left and right because of the way they were starting to enforce the geofencing for the home internet. So they're going to lose a lot of customers.
That's an interesting conundrum. So that's going to increase churn, but they don't report that churn. So it's not going to impact their net additions. Because they're not counting.
You would think
losses, right? They're like those are considered like voluntary disconnects, aren't they?
No, you would think that it wouldn't affect it, but if people are only with T-Mobile with their phone lines because they have home internet, what do you think is going to happen when the company deactivates their home internet? Now they have no reason to stay.
Time to go. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Speed Test Channel chimes in. T-Mobile offering free iPhone 16 with Apple TV. Definitely heavy on promos right now, and that's definitely going to help their Q4. I wonder how long they've been running these, if it maybe was part of the Q3 promotional activity. And then he added by saying also free home fixed wireless with certain bundles. That's really aggressive. And I think that not only bodes well for adding net additions for phone net ads, those are fixed wireless ads. Are we seeing that growth at T-Mobile is no longer organically, to the upside? Because
It
I
was
think
never
what's starting
organic.
to happen, real quick, Frank, I think what's happening is there's more people in play. See, before T-Mobile was playing alone. Now Verizon's in play. Now AT&T's in play. And I'm talking about fixed wireless. So they've got to be more aggressive. And I think that's the only way they can do it. I mean, if you had your choice between the three, T-Mobile Home Internet, Verizon Home Internet, AT&T Home Internet, would you take the T-Mobile Home Internet as the primary?
Oh,
Absolutely not. Only
Wouldn't it
one
have to
has
be the
network
price
slicing
leader?
and one has guarantees. I don't care about the price as long as my service works.
Right, but that would be the way that T-Mobile would have to garner that mind share. They'd have to come in cheaper because that's what T-Mobile has always done. They've always had to come in cheaper in order to get the customer. I mean, they went from being the largest 5G network in America, the best 5G network to America, and now they're back to selling their services cheaper than Verizon and AT&T. Right? So this is all part of that calculus.
I think that's only temporary though, Sneed, because they're just responding to the industry, which historically, if you think about it, the industry has had to respond to them
But how
with
can you
like
tell me it's temporary when they just projected 12 million fixed wireless access subs by 2028?
they're overinflating their numbers like they always do.
You
Yeah,
think so?
as of last quarter, they're at 5.6.
Okay, so we'll call it 6 million after this quarter. Okay, so I mean, look what they did in 3-4 years. They can't do that again?
there's more competition now than there was 3 or 4 years ago.
Right, but to me, that just means they have to be more aggressive. They can't
Well,
just, say, "Hey, we sell it, come and buy it." They're gonna have to convince people that they should buy theirs and not AT&T or Verizon's.
So
well,
maybe
as of right now, T-Mobile Home Internet is the cheapest fixed wireless. Like because they used to have a deal where if you had a premium phone line like Go 5G Plus or Magenta Max, it was $30 a month with a free gateway. Now it's $30 a month with any phone line at all.
Yeah, that's the new promotion.
30 for home internet is great.
Yep.
it's a
I
$5
remember when.
difference.
What's that, B?
It's a $5 difference from what Verizon was selling theirs at.
From a DPRIO plan with less benefits and inclusions.
Right, but the customer, if you look at it like this, B, 4 lines at T-Mobile is $150, right? Because they do the free line. And then 4 lines at Verizon is probably going to be closer to 200. Add the home internet, Verizon's probably going to be what, like 240? And then the T-Mobile's going to be probably like 170, 175 maybe, 180.
Well, what plans are you talking about though?
Like comparable plans.
So
If it's both the premium, like premium from both companies, so that way you qualify for all the discounts and all that.
all right. Well, hold on, I'm gonna find out because
Yeah, because if you price it, T-Mobile's still coming in almost $80 cheaper. Because of that free line. That makes a huge difference. Verizon will never give somebody a free line. Okay, so I don't know. You pick the plan. You
yeah,
want to
so
do the
I'm gonna
Go
say
5G Plus?
yeah, 185 for Go 5G Plus with the
Okay,
free
and then
line.
add the home internet for 30.
Yeah.
So we're coming in at 215, right? And go ahead and what would it be? The ultimate, not ultimate. What's the one? 5G Plus?
Plus.
Okay.
Yeah. That's 180.
Yep. 180 plus what's
30,
the home
35.
internet?
Well, 35.
So 215?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, that's right there.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess the more comparable plan is Ultimate because that has all the deals for new and existing customers.
Oh, okay. Well,
so it's really
so
220.
yeah, it was. So when I estimated the phone lines being 200, that was probably more accurate. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I guess if you're a customer that's trying to go, cost to cost, you're trying to save the money, you'll just get the lower plan, I guess. Speed Test Channel said seeing lots of people lose access to the T-Mobile home internet due to address locking. Dude, they're very serious about it because their network could pay the price. They don't want to lose customers on their postpaid lines because somebody's driving the home internet hard and it's not even supposed to be at that address. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. Little one was fussy, needed to dip out. Salute to you, man. Thanks for being on the panel and joining us tonight. All right, so I think collectively, T-Mobile will have a fine quarter. I think there's going to be a lot of positives. I think they'll try to cover up the negatives, or whatever perceived weakness could be there. I still think T-Mobile's the media darling. I still think T-Mobile is the company that the Moffats and them really, really like and support and say things like best on a bad block and all that, I think T-Mobile's going to have really good numbers. They're still the price leader, so they still get the market share growth when it comes to gross ads. But we're at a point, I think, in the industry where all these companies can do well by their standards. Would you agree or disagree with that statement, B?
Yeah, I think so. By their standards, absolutely, I think you're right.
Maximus, chime in.
And yeah, you can do good by anyone's standard. Like any company can set their own standard and say they're going, they've got the best quarter of all time. And T-Mobile does that more than anyone else. But yeah, any company can be good by their own standard.
Frank, we got you back.
Yes, sir. I put the little one to sleep.
Okay. All right, so we just wrapped up the previews. Wanted to get to this piece of news because B wasn't able to make the panel the day that we discussed it, and B was very disappointed that he wasn't able to make it. So I wanted to give him his opportunity to kind of discuss this, and of course, Frank, you weren't there either, so you kind of get to chime in as well. Maximus, you were there on the live stream. And, we discussed a bunch of stuff, but of course we can get all the insights from all you guys. All right, B, your chance to respond, react to the Verizon purchase of U.S. Cellular assets. Lots of different types of spectrum, low band frequencies, mid band frequencies, more capacity, improved performance from the network in those areas. Jump in and kind of put in your piece.
All right, so I think this was a really, really outstanding transaction from Verizon. Obviously, they needed more low band. You can always use more mid band spectrum as far as the AWS and PCS holdings. That's going to improve the network tremendously. So I was really happy to see this, although the price point was more than fair. Given the fact that it's a large company, Verizon is going to pay a little bit of a Verizon tax, but $1 billion is definitely a good deal for what it is that they purchased. And it wasn't like it was spectrum that they didn't need. They were sorely in need of low band and mid band spectrum, and now they've gotten it in key areas of the country that are, of course, extremely populated. So I feel good about what this is going to be able to do for us as consumers. This is definitely a good thing. When you combine this particular transaction with what's currently in the works, as far as the Frontier purchase, Verizon made themselves better. They've got, access to 25 additional states that they can sell into with the home broadband product, fiber to the prem. Now they've strengthened their spectrum portfolio based on, what it is that we see by all accounts. This is the best spectrum advantage or best spectrum position Verizon's been in its company's history. So I've never seen them fumble the bag when it comes to network performance. And with the assets that they have now and that they continue to accumulate, I don't see that changing anytime soon. So it's good for Verizon customers, and overall good for the industry.
Frank, did you want to chime in on this because you weren't here the day that we discussed it?
Yeah, I didn't even know that this had happened. It's the first time that I'm seeing any news about it. I thought that the last we heard about U.S. Cellular was that majority of the spectrum was purchased by T-Mobile, but I'm glad to see that it's not just going to them. I mean, T-Mobile just got Sprint in 2020, so whatever U.S. Cellular has for spectrum, I think it should be allocated evenly amongst all the carriers, especially if two of the three aren't voluntarily cooperating with the 60-day phone unlock policy. I think they should have to pay in spectrum losses. This is better for the consumer. This is better for Verizon in general. And this is going to help improve coverage, reliability. Like B was saying, Verizon was in desperate need of low band. You know, they have all the millimeter wave, they have the N77, but they needed low band frequencies to compete with T-Mobile because that's where T-Mobile has a lot of their spectrum portfolio in mid band and low band. So this is good for the consumer, and it's a really fair price for what the spectrum is and what benefits it's going to have for Verizon's network. And this is just going to be another rabbit in the hat for Verizon as far as competition down the road for acquiring customers from T-Mobile and from AT&T. So this is good in all facets of industry leading spectrum holdings, and it's just going to make Verizon's network that much better versus the other two.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think Verizon overpaid. I think they overpaid by 20 or 30%. I mean, I was of the belief that T-Mobile overpaid incredibly for their transaction with U.S. Cellular.
Which is why Verizon had to overpay for this one. You know, they had to compete with T-Mobile.
I agree. I think that's part of it because that was probably one of the chips that U.S. Cellular used in their negotiations. They're going to say, look, we got $4.4 billion out of T-Mobile for X amount of spectrum and X frequencies and Y frequencies. You know, so that was part of the negotiation. So I think Verizon overpaid because T-Mobile overpaid. You know, and I know that T-Mobile paid more, but they got a lot more. So it's not exactly a perfect comparison. But that appears to be something that Verizon was willing to do. And I think the reason for that is Verizon doesn't have to immediately do anything for radios. They don't have to climb towers to get a boost in the bandwidth for PCS or AWS. Like that could be done with a software update, right? And then boom, you've got additional bandwidth on band 66 and band 2. And then with respect to the 850, it's the same idea. You know, if they've got 850 radios installed, low band radios, that's it. They're just going to software update, boom, the over the air update goes to the radios and they're broadcasting 850 or additional 850. You know, and of course that improves the cell coverage, that improves the edge cell performance, gives their network better reach, more reliability. And there's the talks of, a low band 5G carrier. So the standalone network commitment, and making it a thing, And I know it's not national and everybody made a big stink about that. It's a small area, but you have to make moves to make your network more complete. And I think that's what they did here. Even if they had to overpay, they did accomplish what they set out to do. So it's commendable in that respect. B, do you agree or disagree that they overpaid? Or I think you mentioned that you thought that they had to.
When has Spectrum ever been purchased for millions of dollars?
Never.
All right, so then that's the case. Then it's tough to consider this to be an overpay. I just don't agree, unfortunately. I mean, with all due respect, I just don't see these larger companies ever purchasing spectrum for less than $1 billion, regardless of the size of the spectrum that's being purchased. It just doesn't happen, Sneed.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I mean, I don't see how this is an overpay. I really don't. This is less than they paid. Verizon did for CBRS. I think they paid $4 billion for CBRS. I think they paid just under $4 billion for millimeter wave when they bought Straight Path. I mean, this is kind of the going rate, guys. I mean, in fact, I think this is a very good deal. And again, it was for spectrum that they sorely needed. 850 is going to help them tremendously. I know it's not contiguous across the country, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, because of FCC rules from the past, Spectrum wasn't something that was sold in contiguous, have it be contiguous across the nation. So it's broken up everywhere. But in the Midwest and in California, LA, and a lot of other places where Frontier is and all the other stuff, the fiber that they're purchasing is going to help their wireless network because they're going to be able to, of course, offload it because people are going to have internet at home. They're going to be able to use Wi-Fi. This particular spectrum, while most of it or a good percentage of it is concentrated in the Midwest areas of the country, it sorely needed 850. The company needed 850. The company needed PCS. The company needed AWS. And now they have it. And to Sneed's point, they were able to acquire this additional spectrum without having to do additional tower climbs to replace radios and antennas. That's meaningful as well. This is a software push, and it's immediate return on investment and immediate service network reliability improvement for the consumer, for the end user. That's a good thing. That's a win for everybody. So, no, I don't think that Verizon overpaid at all. This was more than a fair price point. And I'm sure Verizon probably agrees with me as well. So.
All right, what else? What else? We got to do this last one, I suppose.
All right, can I put one more thing up though?
Oh yeah.
Did you see the picture I sent you?
Yes.
All right.
You want to do that first, or you want to do the T-Mobile piece first?
Well, I'll just make it quick, like 1 minute.
Okay.
Basically, like US Cellular is kind of gone now.
Yeah.
It was like T-Mobile was acquiring 30-40% of their spectrum. I think it was 30% of the assets they had. And now, like, everyone just bought the rest of it, and now there's no more US Cellular. So now you've got stuff like this, which I saw at a local Verizon store. Like, Verizon's just ripping US Cellular apart. Now there's nothing left of them anymore. So they're specifically targeting those customers because they know that there's not much left for their future. So yeah, there kind of is no more US Cellular, and I'm sad about that, not because I loved US Cellular as a company. I didn't even love their network. I just would rather have more competition. But that's what happens when a company's kind of gone.
Yeah, the what's left is probably going to be spectrum that AT&T takes. And I think their deal is going to be more akin to the T-Mobile deal, maybe even a little bit more expensive.
But there is spectrum left? You told me everyone bought everything.
There's DoD and C-band.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's going to AT&T.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think and that's going to be the most expensive part. I think their transaction is going to be about $5 or $6 billion. You know, because it's more valuable mid-band. You know, me and B had this conversation months ago. You know, speaking to the monetization of frequencies, there is no more monetizable spectrum than 3 gigahertz. It is the most monetizable connection in the industry. It has propagation quality and it has capacity. I mean, they call it Goldilocks spectrum. So they're going to have to pay a premium for it. And then I think at that point, we have to say AT&T likely will overpay as well. Probably overpay the most, actually. And B will say that's because they didn't do what they should have did at the auctions. Right, B?
Yep.
So you got to pay the piper at some point, right?
Hey, Stanky wanted to focus on fiber.
Nothing wrong with that, bro. You got to have a lot of fiber in your diet or else you get backed up, you know?
So hold on. One more question about T-Mobile. Are they also acquiring the US Cellular brand and like the operations in the stores?
Yeah, customers and
oh my gosh,
access to I think 4,000 towers or something like that.
So like, I don't have a problem.
T-Mobile is going to have the biggest gain out of this because they're going into these places where they have no share to instantly have the share.
No, but
and have spectrum and tower access and stuff like that.
I don't know how much of that. I don't think they have no share anymore. Like, I mean, they've gained share a lot in
But how much?
rural markets.
In U.S. Cellular territories, it has traditionally been U.S. Cellular, Verizon, and AT&T.
Right, yeah, U.S. Cellular territories, like U.S. Cellular has lost most of its grip.
And where did they go?
To doing what Sprint did at the very end. I've said this before. They're becoming another Sprint.
Marcelo?
Yeah, they're doing what he did, discounting like crazy, and pretending like they're in dire straits.
Well, they are in dire straits.
Right. Well, because they had to discount because they lost their grip. Laurent Thurivel is crazy. Like, they had something, and he just let it go.
What do they have?
They had a large dominance in many.
They had the best network where they had presence.
Right. I mean, again, one way to look at it is just look at their ad campaign from a long time ago. It was network coverage in the middle of anywhere. That was their slogan back in the day. Their whole thing was coverage everywhere, even where the others didn't. Now they don't talk about their network at all. They just talk about, get one line for $30 and 20 phones for free. It's the same stuff Sprint did at the end.
I find it hard to believe they had coverage anywhere. They're a regional carrier, but I mean,
they had coverage in their markets they focused on,
and they had roaming agreements with the big guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had you covered.
Couldn't have been that good, Sneed. They're going out of business. Couldn't have had America covered that well.
Well, they're getting smoked out by the big guys. You know what I mean?
How so?
Well, big guys are focusing on the markets that U.S. Cellular used to.
The big guys' networks got bigger, so they started overstepping those former roaming areas back when. I mean, you could understand that the most important thing to U.S. Cellular used to be roaming charges, right?
Yes, agreed.
That's become lesser and lesser every year as AT&T built out FirstNet and as Verizon continued to make their network larger as well. So why would anybody want to be on U.S. Cellular when Verizon and AT&T and now even T-Mobile have encroached on their native network areas?
Exactly. So what did they have? Like, if they never improved their network, and when I say that, I mean U.S. Cellular, if they never improved the network by expanding it, then what did they really have? It was always a short-term play, or at least at minimum a medium-term play,
because they were never going to scale national.
Exactly. And if you're not willing to embrace the grind and scale nationally, then you're not trying to be in the industry long term. It's really that simple, because it's not like Verizon's going.
I agree. I think their destiny was at some point to sell to the big guys.
It's not like Verizon's going to stop building. It's not like AT&T is going to stop doing whatever Verizon does. And so if Verizon builds, then AT&T is going to build. So that means you got the two top carriers that are going to continue building. So if you're going to remain regional, you're pretty much asking to be bought. And that's what happened.
Speed Test Channel said Verizon had zero coverage in the entire Western Maryland market a few years ago. It was all U.S. Cellular. Rage and Dusty said places like Jackman, Maine, where U.S. Cellular has a big market share. Yeah, huge areas of Iowa. And T-Mobile plugged up Iowa with the iWireless purchase, right? Another regional provider.
Yeah. T-Mobile needs to stop acquiring companies. The government needs to the government needs to stop them. Because I'm not.
But the government never stopped anybody. That's how Verizon got to where they got. That's how AT&T got to where,
needs to stop them from doing what? I mean, from doing what, Max?
This is what has been going on. So what are you going to stop it on T-Mobile? But you didn't stop it on AT&T or Verizon. Why would you expect them to stop it?
T-Mobile just. I'm not expecting them. I'm saying they just should.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. But why?
I don't because T-Mobile's they're buying everyone up too much.
Well, I mean, the regional carriers have always been
okay. This isn't about regional carriers. This isn't about regional carriers. This is about T-Mobile getting everything they want and never being told no.
It's true. true. They don't get told no. Speaking of that, actually, let's do this piece, Max. This is
Oh
important.
man,
All
that
right,
is
you want to break it
important.
down for the folks at home?
So,
Exodus.
by the way, like multiple times today, I contemplated adding this FCC secretary, Dorch, on LinkedIn just so I can message her and say, don't do it. Because so if you scroll to the top, that's what you'll see it's addressed to. So basically, this is a letter from T-Mobile's legal department to the FCC, basically crying and whining about FCC's 60-day universal unlock policy, saying that T-Mobile won't be able to offer as good of handset subsidies if they're forced to unlock them within 60 days. And basically saying it's better for the customer if we get to lock the phones longer.
You can't make this stuff up, Max.
But this is what happens when they've been given everything they want.
They've never been told no.
They've never been told no.
Yeah.
Maybe I should add this FCC secretary on LinkedIn. Tell her, hey, you guys have been telling T-Mobile they can have everything they want whenever they want. You got to stop them at some point.
So you're telling me that Verizon, the nation's largest provider, has been the largest provider, is good enough for a 60-day unlock policy, but T-Mobile refuses.
Right, and that's the thing. No, hold on. Find it somewhere. I'm going to try to find it. This is important. Sneed, scroll to the second page. Up a little more. Right there. T-Mobile maintains that the Commission lacks authority to adopt the proposed rule. If that is true, then T-Mobile should be fighting on Verizon's behalf, saying Verizon shouldn't be subjected to that. If T-Mobile's legal
step in the way and take darts to the V-neck for Verizon, bro.
No, I know, but if T-Mobile really believes that's true, that sentence right there, that the Commission lacks authority to adopt the proposed rule, then equally to T-Mobile, the FCC should quote-unquote lack authority to do it to Verizon. Why can they do it to Verizon but not to T-Mobile?
Take care, Speed Channel. Good to see you here at the show. Tech Guy says T-Mobile doesn't want to lose their international roaming revenue because they lock the phones, right? Right, and then they'd have to just keep their service active while they travel abroad with the T-Mobile service.
That's probably part of it.
B, what's your take on this?
Man, I don't care.
What do you mean? This is pretty major. They're opposing a 60-day unlock policy that the FCC is doing on behalf of the consumer that's already been generally accepted by the biggest carrier in the country.
That's why I don't care, because this isn't going to work. They're not going to sell
that eventually they're gonna have to abide by the policy.
Yeah, this is T-Mobile being T-Mobile. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work.
Right. Well, and I mean, that's true, but I just wanted to bring it up because the audacity of this company to keep moving forward, to keep clawing for that next thing.
All right, well, we'll see how this all plays out, man. All right, guys. Really, really good show. Shout out to Max and B for being here. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys so very much.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Frank, who was here earlier as well. Big shout out to the YouTube members, my patrons. Thank you guys for supporting us on these platforms. If you want to get involved with the live chat, you want to be more involved with the community, get additional perks and benefits, you could support us on the platforms. Patreon link is in the description. The YouTube membership, you just hit join down below, and you can get all the access that you guys could want from the different things here on the channel, from early access to videos to unique content that doesn't go public, from live streams to video content, speed testing, the whole shebang. We do it all. So support your favorite creators. They need you more than ever, and that's how you guys can do it and get more access. So great show, guys. We're gonna have live streams this week. We'll have one after the Verizon numbers. We'll have a live stream for the T-Mobile and the AT&T numbers. So that'll be Tuesday for Verizon, Wednesday for the other two, AT&T and T-Mobile, and lots of content throughout the week as we break down.
Culver's Part 2.
Culver's Part 2?
Culver's Part 2.
The Culver's cut. We'll see. All right. Well, you guys got to tell me what else you want me to try, because I did the mushroom and Swiss burger, and I think what was it, the frozen custard?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So we'll have to switch it up, Max. What do you recommend?
I don't know. There's so much. Another pretzel bites.
Pretzel bites. All right, we could do that.
And I'm trying to think, because I could.
Do they have a good chicken sandwich?
Probably not.
No, it's a burgers.
Yeah, it's all about the stuff they are known for. They're not known for chicken, and there's a reason.
All right, I'll have to find some different burger. We'll get one of their bigger burgers. How's that? I'll go after I lift weights.
Yeah.
All right, solid, man. Thanks, Max. Thanks, B. Appreciate you guys. Salute to the nation. We out this piece.
Peace.